The time has come. After a summer of spending money, it's time to win it all back. Welcome into our CitrusTV studio for a brand new season of Beat the Bookie. My name is Cameron Ezeir, or you can just call me the reason your wallets are going to fatten after this weekend. Because week 2 of college football is on the way with plenty of victories for people like us without helmets to be had. Now, before we do so, round of applause for the spring. Our 12 hosts combined for a crisp 41 Buckaroos, with Ryan Nelson salvaging the season atop the leaderboard. So let's keep the good times rolling here in the fall. We start with our big games of the week, and it's a flash from the past. The first meeting between Alabama and Texas since the 2010 National Championship game. And get this, the first regular season matchup between the Tide and the Longhorns since 1922. Yeah, a century ago. So this game's occurrence is already etched in the ethos of college football, but enough sappiness. We're here to make some dough. The #1 team in the country is on the road and enter as 20.5-point favorites on a Texas team that rosters one of the most hyped recruits ever in Longhorns QB Quinn Ewers. That sounds like fireworks. It is, and to add a cherry on top, Bama's former offensive coordinator Steve Sarkisian is the current Texas head coach. So storylines galore for what's set to be a heck of a matchup, and one I have confidence that Texas can tag along in. Last season, the Crimson Tide traveled 4 times in the regular season, and in 3 of those road games, Bama won by 2, lost by 3, and needed quadruple overtime to down Auburn. And the fact that UT Stadium fits over 100,000 people, I have a feeling a sellout is in order. So find me a reason that the Longhorns can't claw out a potential upset. Give me Texas plus 20.5 for $5 to double my money. But I'm not done there. Last year, Bama averaged 40 points per game and just backed last season's performance up with the 55-0 drubbing of Utah State last week behind Heisman winner Bryce Young, while Texas lit up the scoreboard with the 52 points in its home opener. So cash in the over of 64.5 at $5 for what I think is going to be a classic Texas two-step. After doubling your money in the Lone Star State, move east to the Sunshine State and feast your eyes on a top 20 matchup that has all the fixins to deliver one of the best SEC games throughout the first half of the season. It's 12th-ranked Florida hosting 20th-ranked Kentucky. Now, is it ambitious that a 3-point win against a top 10 Utah Ute squad leapfrogged the Gators from out of the polls to 12th in the country? Maybe, but I'm in the business of money-making and not committee slander, and I'm also in the business of the eye test. And what I saw last week is that the Swamp's 90-plus thousand fans willed Florida to the win. May I add, the most ever for a Florida season opener, and 2,000 over capacity. Either way, the Gators are going to pack the house once again behind their star quarterback, Anthony Richardson, who ran for 3 touchdowns last week, plus add to the equation that Chris Rodriguez, Kentucky's lead tailback, is not playing, and this game is set up for a Florida domination. And hey, let's be bold. I don't just think the Gators are going to win. I have them winning big. Put $10 on Florida winning by 2 or more touchdowns for a return of $20 in the bank. To wrap up our big games of the weekend, let's stay with 2 teams in the top 25. Number 24 Tennessee taking on 17th-ranked Pitt, and I get it. Kenny Pickett is a Pittsburgh Steeler. Jordan Addison is a USC Trojan. So Pitt's offense isn't to be trusted, and Tennessee's only competition this season was a measly Ball State squad they blew out of the water. So you take both into account, both of those sentiments, and let's realize the obvious. Both the Volunteers and Panthers should get ready for a first-half dogfight in an NFL stadium. So let's drop $5 on the under for half number 1. The line? 33.5. Now let's return to one of those statements above. Tennessee mauled Ball State 59-10 last week. Well, on the other side, Pitt played a stout West Virginia program and was tested in a victory. So what you're telling me is that this weekend's battle-ridden home team is welcoming an out-of-conference foe that was handed a cupcake during week 1? Let's empty the bank another $5 and take Pitt's money line. And as you can tell, slow but steady wins the race to getting rich. Now time for 4 games of my choosing, and I'd be remiss not to include the cornfield rivalry. So I'll admit, it's actually called the Cy-Hawk game with the Cyclones and the Hawkeyes. With the plethora of cornfields in Iowa, I'm coining it it as the new name here in 2022. For a rivalry that's dated back to 1894, 68 meetings have separated as such. Iowa with 46 wins and Iowa State with the other 22. And get this, 1/3 of such games have finished with a winning margin of 6 or less. So let's take the plus odds of nabbing Iowa to win by 6 or fewer points at home at $10 with a $44 return. How about that for rustling some cornfields? Now, many might call me crazy for even picking Iowa at home after the Hawkeyes failed to score a touchdown in a 7-3 win over an FCS opponent in South Dakota State last week. And I'll admit, I'm a bit crazy if you don't know me already, which is why I'm calling this a revenge week for the home team from Iowa City and calling myself a sucker for plus odds, and hopefully you too. Give me the first half over for $5, which is set at a measly 20.5 points. Yeah, you heard me right. The Hawkeyes will recover, and guess what? They'll recover early. Over to the best coast. Yep, you guessed it right. The West Coast. You know, as a West Coast guy myself, I had to find a way to get some California teams in the mix, maybe track it back 3 hours as well. And luckily for me and the rest of college football, NorCal plays SoCal in week 2 with Stanford welcoming number 10 USC. With a revamped USC offense, Stanford's O is probably overlooked, but not by me. The Cardinals sport a 6'6 starting QB in Tanner McKee, who holds all conference honors from last year. Couple that with E.J. Smith, Stanford's hard-nosed running back, and Stanford could give fits to USC early, which is why I'm expecting a tightly contested first half. So let's drop $5 on Stanford's first half spread at 6.5-point dogs. Now to the game in its entirety. You thought I was just going to cut it off at the first half? I said I'm a West Coast guy. Let's keep it going. It's being played in Northern California. Coincidentally enough, the last 7 meetings in NorCal dating back to 2010 would fall in the parameters of USC not covering as 9.5-point favorites. So let history repeat itself. If I know anything about the Pac-12, no team is safe. So give me $5 on Stanford plus 9.5 and an early scare for the Trojans. Okay, time for a deep breath with a game that many outside of College Station and Boone, North Carolina have no idea is happening, but I'll enlighten you. The 6th ranked team in the country in Texas A&M hosts the trudging Mountaineers of the Sun Belt. Now I'll make this brief. App State just dropped 61 points on North Carolina, while the Aggies just dropped 31 a week ago. While I do see Texas A&M winning this game comfortably, I don't think Appalachian State will fold without a fight, especially with that potent offense. Add $5 to the 53.5 line. Sign me up for the over, baby. From deep in the heart of Texas to elevation in the old state of Utah, it's a matchup of future Big 12 foes when 9th-ranked Baylor visits 21st-ranked BYU. And to add more flavor to it, the Baylor Bears, who beat the Cougars by 2 touchdowns last year and just ran in 7 touchdowns against Albany last week, are underdogs. Yeah, you should be as surprised as me. That's reason number 1, 2, and 3 that I'm taking Baylor. Now, I'm not discrediting BYU in any way, shape, or form, but flat out, Baylor's the better team offensively, and home field advantage will only do as much. So find me on the Baylor train with $10 waving in my hand for the underdogs money line. Okay, lock of the week time. You know I had to give it to you because I'm spicing things up. It could be a spicy pick, or maybe you have to wait for my next one for that to come to fruition. But my lock of the week, do I really need to do much explanation for this one? Mario Cristobal and the Miami Hurricanes just scored a week 1 high. 70 points, stay in your seats, 70 points in their season opener, and it's not like their opponent in week number 2 is much better than week number 1 when they played Bethune-Cookman. Yeah, look that school up. Southern Miss is 6-16 over the last 2 seasons, and they're playing in the swamp. Put 15 on Miami to cover the near 4-touchdown spread and send Southern Miss on their merry way, playing teams like Troy and Northwestern State. Remember when I said we're going to spice things up? Here's where it gets spicy. our dog of the week, Hog Nation in Arkansas. Get ready for Spencer Rattler's coming out party. It's finally the week for one of the most expectation-filled QBs to show in and show out. South Carolina and number 16 Arkansas under the lights in Fayetteville. I'm pegging this game as a shootout, which favors the better and more efficient offensive threat. When I look back to the 2020 season that Spencer Rattler had, the quarterback for the Gamecocks, I continue telling myself that he is due, and now I'm willing to say that in a hostile environment against a top 20 opponent, this is the game where the Gamecocks' new QB, the Oklahoma transfer, will thrive. Let's spend $5 more to take our total up to $90 spent, and I'm telling you, come triple your money with me in the Gamecocks. You will not regret it. But I couldn't leave things off without giving you a little parlay, and guess what? I'm in the favorites mood. I'll admit it, I was in the favorites mood at the beginning, and I'm in the favorites mood now. Let's close things out with a 4-leg super bet. Penn State to cover 27.5 against Ohio at State College. Poor Bobcats in that one. 19th ranked Wisconsin taking care of business by at least 18 points against the visiting Washington State Cougars. I don't have that much confidence in the Pac-12, come on. And Notre Dame bouncing back from its opening week loss to Ohio State with a spot in the win column by at least 3 touchdowns against the best name in college football. You can argue with me, but I'm saying it's the best name. The Road Thundering Herd of Marshall. And to turn 3 into 4 to up the ante a bit, let's go with one of the best, if not the best team in the American Conference, the 25th ranked Houston Cougars, getting 3.5 points in Lubbock against Texas Tech. Yeah, they're underdogs. And if you join along and spend $10 on this 4-leg parlay with me, you too might cash in over 120 big ones. Time for a recap. Add Texas, Florida, and Pitt to the party while Iowa wins the annual cornfield, as I coin it, rivalry. Plus, keep an eyes on the underdogs in California and Utah. While Miami, well, they're a surefire lock. South Carolina are my dogs, and 120 big ones are on the line in my parlay. Well, that'll do it for Beat the Bookie. With so much money up for grabs, there's only one thing left to do. Sit down, grab a snack or two. I prefer myself some pita chips with hummus. You can go with goldfish, Cheez-Its, whatever you may desire. Enjoy the games and get ready for a whole lot of green in your future.